Good morning, everybody. Michael Reeves, good to see you here. How is everybody? Doing fine? Some of you might have read this earlier in the week, but my good friend Michelle Langenford sent me a story about a graduation ceremony in Maryland. And the people that were going to speak at this ceremony were told in no uncertain terms that they could not do anything religious, they could not mention the word God, that they had to be very, very non-committed to anything, especially blessing somebody in the name of God. So at the ceremony, the valedictorian gets up to speak, and as he approaches the lectern, hundreds of graduating students all sneeze at the same time. He says, "God bless you." You know, the kids today are just so smart. That's ingenious. The hymn we sang, "Mine eyes have seen the glory of the truth that is meant to be," and that is exactly where we're at in this day, in this age. Things that are happening that are going to change our lives forever. They're going to redefine what it means to be a human being. It's going to redefine what it means to be you. We are beginning a series today called Insights. And insights are all of those things from age-old wisdom to the latest scientific discoveries that are slowly beginning to come to the surface that we can wrap our minds around and use them to increase the fulfillment of our lives. You came into this room today. You're here now. This room is a part of this building. This building sits on a plot of land. The land is a part of the earth. The earth is revolving around the sun 65,000 miles an hour. Now that means when you leave here, you will be 65,000 miles away from where you were when you came in. The sun revolves around the middle of the Milky Way galaxy. The earth is revolving around the sun revolving around the center of the Milky Way galaxy. It takes the sun 226 million years to make one orbit. Now, what does that mean exactly? It means that we are in a place, us here on earth, revolving around the sun, which is revolving around the center of the Milky Way universe, where nobody has ever been before. Think about that. What will there be to discover as we're pioneers in the vast sea of cosmic space? We have no idea what is out there, but we're moving, we're progressing into areas where we're discovering things that have always been, yet they can change the lives of all of us here on earth. Now that's very interesting, isn't it? I find that amusing. It's a fun thought to think about, but that being said, still, my credit card payment's due, I'm out of coffee, my license plates need to be renewed, and I've gained 2 pounds. That's real life. All the other stuff is just, it's okay. But I tell you that. I tell you those facts about the earth and about the sun revolving around the Milky Way galaxy, because just as we're discovering new things in the universe around us, we're also discovering new things in the inner world. In 1990, scientists broke the genetic code. They discovered how DNA works. And at that time, in 1990, they concluded that 98% of our DNA is junk. It does nothing at all, has no purpose, worthless matter. 98% of our DNA. Now, they have discovered that DNA is not worthless at all. It just it hasn't been switched on. It hasn't been activated. Think of a big board that has 100 lights on it, and in the middle, 2 of those lights are lit, and all the rest of them are unlit. And so we sit back and we assume, or we make the opinion that 98 aren't worth anything. Only the 2 that are lit are worth something. But then we discover that if you push a button, it lights up. Now, what does this mean? It means that 98% of our DNA that hasn't been activated, when it is, based on scientific discovery, there's DNA in our system that can prevent or cure genetic diseases such as multiple sclerosis, cancer, asthma, diabetes. We are on the verge of creating a whole new malady for healing, or a whole new modality, for healing. There'll be a time in the future when all the genetic diseases that we're plagued with today won't exist. That is pretty incredible. Now, in addition to the great discoveries we're finding in the universe and the great discoveries we're finding in the physicality of our being, we are also on the verge of discovering all sorts of new things in regards to who we are, what we are, why we're here, and how we can live more fulfilling lives. We're discovering ways where we can move beyond any sense of ill feeling, any sense of tension about our lives and who we are, and live with a high sense of well-being. We call this a Center for Well-Being because that is what we do. Well-being is the assessment you have of your whole life. Not just one little problem, or not all the joys, but you take your whole life, and the assessment that you have, the satisfaction you have with it, is your level of well-being. And on the spiritual path, we have one purpose, and one purpose only, that is to increase our sense of well-being. Now, there's a lot of politics going on now, and every politician has his stump speech, where he gets up and he kind of says the same thing over and over and over again. And, excuse me, Virgo. And so this is my stump speech. For those of you who are new, who have never been here before, as I speak these words, take them as your own and just know that this is the truth about you. You were born into this world. Your life began. There'll come a time when you'll leave this world. Your life will conclude itself. In between the beginning and the end, there is time. It is your time. You refer to it as your lifetime. You spend your entire lifetime interacting with life as a whole. We have no other choice. We can't do anything else. We can run away, we can hide, we can put ourselves into solitary confinement. We still have to interact with life. That's what life is. It's interaction with living things towards life itself. You spend your entire time interacting with life. Your interactions with life provide for you a wide range of emotional experience. You're happy, you're sad. You deem some things good, you deem some things bad. You're peaceful, you're in conflict. A wide range of emotional feelings that lead to well-being or ill feeling about what is going on in your life. Now, the whole range of emotional experience is natural and it's meant to be experienced. There is nothing wrong with sad. There's nothing wrong with mad. There's nothing wrong with conflict. That's all a part of it. But there is something that is outside of nature, that is out of the ordinary, to have a sense of ill feeling about it. You can be in the midst of great sadness and feel well about your life, and when you experience a sadness, you'll see that that sad interaction with some part of life really grows you. It gives you something. It strengthens you. It increases your awareness about life. So there's nothing wrong with any of the emotions except for the resistance or the ill feeling that we have about them. Now, the purpose for our existence, for every single one of us, is to deepen our relationship with life. That is why we're here. The deeper we relate to life, the greater our understanding, the higher our sense of well-being. The deeper our relationship with life, the higher our sense of well-being. That is evolution. That's what graduates us from one point of awareness to another point of awareness. And with every point of awareness that we evolve to, there is a greater sense of well-being. So if that is the case, what stops us from doing that? Why don't we continually have a deeper feeling of being connected to life? Well, the reason is one thing and one thing only, and that's fear. I'm not talking about fear for survival or safety for yourself or loved ones or people in general, but I'm talking about fear of life, fear of situations and circumstances, fear of our own goodness, our own worthiness. It's that fear that infects us and pushes us back from life. We resist life. We struggle with life. Life becomes the enemy, and we don't deepen our relationship with life, but rather it becomes more shallow to the point where we're on the surface. See, life is very much like, say, the ocean for a metaphor. We can stand on the shoreline, we can look out at the ocean, and we see water, and we see waves, and we might see some debris, and that is our image of the ocean. Now, we're fortunate to be able to see what's beneath the surface. There's fish, there's plants, and there's organisms. We see that on television. Deep sea divers experience it firsthand. So we get a little glimpse there. But what is in the depths of the ocean, where nobody has ever been? We have no idea. It's the same thing with our lives. We are on the surface of our lives. We can see what's going on out here, and we perceive it, and we attach some sort of a meaning to it. And then we have the emotional experience inside, but what lies deeper? See, the point I'm trying to make, just as 90% of our DNA hasn't been switched on and isn't activated to the point where it can truly benefit us, 98% of our spiritual potential, of our emotional potential, of our mental potential has not been activated either. And what it is, we can rise to a point of confidence, a point of optimism, where we can experience life without that dreaded fear. In Greek mythology, there was a character named Proteus. And Proteus was given two gifts from the gods. First of all, he was given the knowledge of it all. He knew everything, including what would take place in the future. In exchange for that, Proteus had to answer people's questions when they came to him. And the other great gift he got was that he could change himself to any form that he wanted. Well, Proteus was getting a little bit angry, a little bit bothered by people pestering him with questions all the time. So when they come up to ask a question, Proteus would change him into some sort of a ghastly creature and make these gnarly noises to scare him away. But if the people persisted, and they moved towards Proteus and they embraced him, they would get the answer they're looking for. He couldn't hurt a soul. All he could do is try to fear or scare them away, fill them with fear. Now, life is very, very much the same. When we're faced with a situation or a circumstance that is challenging, that is disturbing, that taxes us, life shows its gnarly head and tries to scare us away. And so we resist it and we back off. If we move forward, we get to the point where we understand what caused it, what the consequences are, and what can cure it. But we can only do that by moving into it, not standing outside imagining what it might do to us. I went to a movie last week. It's called Life is Beautiful. I got to the theater, drove all the way out to Antioch and Johnson Drive. I go up, and the lady at the ticket counter says the movie is made in India. And it's spoken in the Indian language, Hindi. And there are no subtitles. Well, I'd driven all the way out there. I said, I'll give it a shot. So I bought a ticket. I went in, watched the movie, could not understand a single word that anybody was saying. I didn't know what the plot was. I didn't know what the storyline was. I just sat there and I had to imagine what was taking place. I had to make up a story in my head. Now, the theater was filled with many people who looked like they might have come from India, and I'm sure that they understood the Hindi language. And so there were times when I would sit there and I'd watch what was on screen and make up a story in my head, and they would burst out in laughter. Had no idea what they were laughing about. And then something else would happen. There would be this collective moan. Now, my experience for that movie was not nearly as rich as theirs because they understood what was going on, and I was making up what was going on. And that's the way it is with life sometimes. If we're engaged in a situation or a circumstance and we don't know what's going on, we make something up. We invent a story. We imagine a scenario. And as humans, unfortunately, we have a habit of always imagining the worst case scenario. You know, we think the worst is going to happen because we don't know. But the only way to deepen our relationship with life is to learn, is to gain understanding. So instead of imagining and making up a story about what is going on, it is to say, I don't know, but I am going to learn. And we move into every situation or circumstance, no matter how difficult, no matter how frightening it be, we move into it with confidence and we discover something that elevates us to a higher point than we've ever been before. Thus is the glory of life. You cannot experience anything that will give you more joy than yourself becoming more than it's ever been. Now, our lives with relationships, or with life, aren't any different than any other relationship we have. And you know this. I don't even have to tell you this, but I'm going to anyway. Everybody here knows that if you have a relationship with somebody, and there's fear in that relationship, whether it's fear of rejection, fear of not being good enough, fear of not living up to other people's expectations, fear of betrayal, fear of abandonment, whatever it might be, if there's fear in the relationship, it has no value. You're better off without it. If you're in a relationship with another person and there's fear in that relationship, you have three choices. One is to remain in it and just continue to experience the suffering, the anxiety that it brings to you. The other choice is to embark upon a path that will alleviate the fear and move beyond it. And the third thing is to distance yourself from the relationship. Now, with life, it's exactly the same thing. We can continue to live our lives with fear and anxiety and worry and doubt and all of those things and have a great deal of distance between ourselves and life. That's one choice. We can do that. Another choice is to move into it and alleviate the fear. And the third choice is to distance ourselves from it. So we either suffer, we cure the cause, or we try to distance ourselves from lives which doesn't work. Because no matter where you go, no matter what you do, life is just like a shadow. It is right behind you all the time. You can't get away from it. So in this series, we're looking at deepening our relationship with life. And on the bulletin, I've listed 5 things that the experts in human research have discovered that we need to have a high sense of well-being. The first one is positive emotion, which we're talking about today. Positive emotion doesn't necessarily mean happy-go-lucky all the time. It just means having a sense of wellness about your existence. The second thing is engagement, being engaged with life to a point where you become more in some way every day. You learn something, you become better at something, relationships become deeper, you learn more about life. The third thing is relationships. That's the only way we have to experience life here on earth is through relationships. There is not a singular, isolated, solitary Duke. I am the sum total of all of my relationships, as are you. Everything in my life is myself relating to something, including relating to myself, relating to God, or whatever it might be. Relationships, the overall health of our relationships is equal to the overall health of our well-being. The fourth thing is meaning, and that's becoming a part of something that is greater than ourselves. Sitting here on Sunday morning is part of that. We're all here learning and growing together. Going out and helping somebody do something is engaging yourself in something that is greater than yourself. And the last one is achievement. And as I said earlier, achievement is simply feeling a sense of growth about yourself, a sense of movement in your life on a daily basis, where you go to bed and you can honestly say to yourself, I'm a different person right here, right now than I was when I got up this morning. I have learned something. And the greatest way to learn achievement is by being mindful. Now, those are the 5 things we're going to cover in this series. Each week, we'll cover one of those 5 things. But today, the insight is that we are here, we interact with life. The purpose for that is to create a deeper relationship with life, and the only thing that can stop us from doing that is fear. And fear has many forms. There's fear as guilt, there's fear as shame, there's fear as anxiety, there's fear as worry, there's fear as a sense of unworthiness. Fear has many different faces, but they're all the same. Each one pushes us back from the life experience that is so rich and so meaningful and so rewarding, and it's just waiting for us. You know, Jesus Christ said, "Seek and you will find." And that is no more true now than it ever been, it's more true now than it's never been, and because the more we seek within us, the more we find exactly what we need. We're finding those switches, so to speak, the emotional switches, the spiritual switches that we can flip on, and in that process, rise up, and the problems and challenges that once plagued us suddenly disappear. Take a moment to think of that as we move into meditation. For a moment, take a deep breath and slowly exhale. Yeah, another deep breath and slowly release it. Then we move into meditation with a peaceful mind, a peaceful heart, a peaceful spirit. As I speak these words, please make them your own and repeat them back to yourself. Peaceful mind. I am at peace with all the situations and circumstances in my life. Peaceful heart. I am at peace with all the people in my world. A peaceful spirit. I'm at peace with myself and the existence that I am living. We now move into the silence with a peaceful mind, a peaceful heart, and a peaceful spirit.